Is this a time to buy a house in the Tampa Bay area, St. Petersburg, Pinellas, Hillsborough, wherever? That is the question that we're getting now. This is deals of the week, so I have three great houses to look at. But first up, the question that everybody asks right now is it a good time to buy? It depends on your situation, obviously, but let's at least look at some pros, some reasons that you may want to consider buying. First of all, sellers are negotiating. There's no doubt about that. Builders are offering crazy incentives, closing costs, down payment assistance, credits at their design center. I mean, ultimately, you wanted lower prices. Here they are. Number two, interest rate shock has worn off a little bit. People didn't like mortgages above 7%. They hated mortgages above 7%. They're not crazy about them at 6%, but people are starting to get used to them. I think a lot of people are starting to do the math. If you're financing a house, it's kind of about cost of ownership anyway, right? If your target mortgage payment with everything all in is $3,000 a month, and the price of the house came down, but the interest rate went up, and you're still at $3,000 a month, you can make an argument that what's the difference? I mean, obviously the difference is you're paying more in interest with a higher interest rate, and that never feels good. But as far as cost of ownership, you can make an argument that's the same. And I think that the other thing is, I think there's a lot of pent up demand from potential home buyers who sat on the sidelines the last couple of years. They hated the prices, they hated the interest rate spikes, and this doesn't apply to all of them. But just think as an example, like a couple with a young kid, say the kid's 3 or 4 right now. And when they had the kid, they started thinking about buying a house. They could have bought a house, but maybe smartly said, I'm going to sit on the sidelines. I don't want to pay 7.25% for an overpriced house, so I'm going to wait. And maybe a couple of years go by. Now the kid's 3, 4, pushing 5, and schools start to become more important. Young couples with a kid, they like to have the 4 corners of their own property, with a backyard. They can put a swing set up. They don't have to worry about a landlord telling them they can't do this or whatever. So I think there's some pent up demand, and I think some of those people are inching their way back into the market. I'm not saying it's going to be a big flood, but I think that they're starting to look again. Now, the cons, obviously, there's still plenty of cons when it comes to buying a house. Interest rates, we got used to those 3s and 4s, and now we're in the 6s and 7s, and it's not great. And I'm sure some people are going to hold out for a long time, hoping for those 4s again. I don't know if they're coming. My guess is they're not. And even if they did, remember this: if interest rates slowly move down to in the 4s, you're just going to get a rush of buyers back into the market, and it's going to push prices up. Now, supply is increasing, so that'll be mitigated a little bit. I mean, there's a lot of math involved, a lot of economics involved here, but if interest rates move down too quickly, you're going to get a lot of people in. It's going to push prices up, and you're going to be kind of in the same situation you were in. So I also think that there's developed a bit of an anti-house vibe over the last couple of years. Post-pandemic, everybody felt like they needed to buy a house, and then prices shot up, and then people got mad that prices were too high, or people that weren't able to get in. And now there's like something of a general anti-house buying vibe, like it has a bad reputation. And then I think that another con is that inflation has been around for a few years. It's maybe eaten into some people's rate of savings or their actual savings. They've had to subsidize their lives by dipping into savings. So maybe the cash situation isn't as great for some. And then I think, obviously you got to mention AI with everything. And there's some uncertainty, especially in some technical jobs, that those jobs may not exist, or they may change over the next couple of years. And that might make people nervous about buying a house right now. So, and with that, let's just jump into house number 1. All right, so let's take a look at house number 1. This is in the Azalea neighborhood. All 3 houses are going to be kind of in the similar neighborhood, the Jungle Terrace area, which is one of my favorite parts of town. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with 1,370 square feet, a little on the small side for a 3-2, priced at $313 a square foot, a little bit north of my $300 a square foot, which is I think where we should be for a decent house in St. Pete, not in a flood zone, but you'll probably see why in just a second here. But let's take a quick look at the map so that you get a feel for where it is. So we can see this is downtown St. Pete. You have all the beaches right here. This Jungle Terrace area is a really great part of town. It's non-flood. Jungle Terrace, not as many $1 million houses, but you're kind of surrounded by a lot of really nice houses. You pretty much have access to everything. The mall is over here, over to the interstate, over to Tampa. Like I said, beaches, 10, 15 minutes, maybe a 15, 20-minute drive to downtown. So excellent location. Let's take a look at the photos before we get into the pricing situation, because this is, and I try to tell people this all the time. What is the first thing you notice? This is the first picture. I don't know if it would show up on your phone the same way, or maybe if I had a bigger monitor, it might display different, but you see how tiny this picture is. It's got a watermark over it. It's a little blurry. What does that tell you? That tells you that as people are scrolling, they're going to skip this house. It's not going to catch their eyes visually. Now, I don't know if this was a mistake. I'm not blaming anybody. A listing agent is doing a good job marketing the house, but arguably this is not a great picture. And when you see this, you should stop and say, if most people are going to go past this because it's a blurry picture, let me take a look. The smaller the market is for a particular house, the lower the price is going to be. So when you see bad pictures, take a second to, if it fits your criteria, otherwise price, size-wise, stop and look at it. I'm telling you that is, it's a big thing. So we've got a little pool in the back, which is not bad. Nice shed there. This is a nice open area, and you can see the interior pictures aren't so bad. I don't know if they're going to show up as blurry when I record this or not, but they're not super crystal clear. I don't know why. This looks like a nice newer kitchen with granite. I think this is virtually staged. Nice and clean inside. Looks like a bunch of new stuff in here. And you can see, where, not that there's any parks right here necessarily, but you're close to the water, but not in a flood zone. Big ball field and park here. So really, really good location. And that's it for the pictures, which is, again, a good sign. So let's look at the rest of the activity here. 159 days on the market. Originally, August of last year at $365 a square foot. 1, 2 price changes, took it off the market, 3, 4, 5 price changes. Again, these are the signs you want to see, that a listing agent and a seller have inched their way down. It started at almost 500,000. They inched their way down trying to find when they can get some buyers in to look at this house. I would suspect they're getting close. Some positives on this house for sure. The renovation looks like a 2018. The roof is only 9 years old, which is good. The neighborhood is awesome. You have to remember that. So let's just go ahead and grade this one. Well, let me see what else is new here. I think we went over everything. So let's just jump into the scorecard for this house. 156 days on the market and a fair number of price drops. We're going to score that a 9. We love to see that. We love to see listing agents and sellers inching their way down to find the market. Broad appeal on this house. I'm going to give it an 8. It's really hard to tell from that front picture exactly, sort of what the house looks like because it's so blurry. But it's a typical 3-2 with a 1-car carport, which could probably be enclosed, a little on the small side at 1,370 square feet, but it does have a pool, which is really nice. So I'm going to give that an 8. Maintenance-wise, I'm going to give that an 8. It's a 2018 renovation, so it's not old. Neighborhood, I'm going to give it a 10. This part of town is no flood. It's kind of quiet out there. It's a very established neighborhood. It's got access to everything. So we'll score this one an overall an 8.75. This is a definite must-see. I would say that I want to see this house, even though it has a pool, which should bring a premium. It's got a nice shed. It's a fairly recent renovation. I think we should be at the $300 a square foot mark on this one, which would put it at $411. I know people are going to tell me that's still too high, but I think a pool house that doesn't need any work at $300 a square foot is pretty fair. So drop a comment. Let me know what you think for a 3-2 pool home, a little on the smaller side, 1,300 something square feet, 1-car carport. If $429 is too high, what about $411? Do you like that price? Drop a comment, let me know. And now let's take a look at house number 2. All right, so here's house number 2, also Jungle Terrace neighborhood. Great place to be. It's a 3-2, 1,358 square feet. So similar in size to the last house. It does have a one-car garage at 353 a square foot, so significantly higher price per square foot. Let's see if this is a deal. I was kind of on the fence about this one. It's got the nice sort of cottagey feel outside. I believe that this house, the second floor was added onto because this elevation here in the front, you see this roof line with the one-car garage. This is pretty typical of a 2-1 built like in the 50s or 60s in this part of town. So let's take a look at the area. Again, you're going to get familiar with this area pretty quickly. It's not that far from the other house. The other house was like right here. So we're just a couple of minutes away, which again puts you a few minutes from the beaches, all up and down here, over to downtown, 15, 20 minutes, 275 over to the Tampa airport or Tampa Stadium or wherever you're going over there. So let's look at the price action real quick on this before we go any further. And this one has been on the market since last June. We love to see that, almost a little over 7 months on the market. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 price changes from $549 down to $579. Again, they started at $400 a square foot. I'll tell you, it was around May or June of last year that I really saw buyer interest like drop off a cliff. So this probably wasn't a terrible idea, maybe in a skosh high at the time, but it quickly became not realistic in my opinion. By the summer, we should have been, in my opinion, somewhere in this price range as the summer wore on. Obviously, that's proven to be true because now we're down to $479. So let's buzz through the photos real quick and see what we like there. Again, it's got that cottage style. Not going to be for everybody, and this was clearly a single story that they added a second floor on, but it's really nice and classy. Got some nice woodwork there as you walk in. A big open living area. This is staged, obviously, if you heard me talk about when you don't see a TV in a living room. This house is probably not occupied and staged. New appliances, granite countertops. Kudos to the photographer here. Really crystal clear pictures without sort of overdoing anything. And this will be the upstairs primary. You can tell sort of by the roof line here. So a big primary upstairs. Nice bathroom. I mean, they put some money into this house, that's for sure. All right, so let's just jump into the scorecard on this one. This house has been on the market 232 days. We love to see that. And we especially love to see that when there have been regular and methodical price drops during that time. That means the listing agent and the seller are trying to find where they can get buyers into the house. They're not, being stubborn about where pricing should be right now. So that's a good sign. I'm gonna give that a 9. Broad appeal. This is a really nice looking 3-2. It was added onto. The master is, or the primary is upstairs, and it's got the sort of the, not a full roof, the angled roof on the side that you see on second floor additions sometimes, or when they enclose an attic or something. But otherwise, I would say pretty good broad appeal, one-car garage, decent size, not huge at 1,358 square feet. So we're going to give that a 9. Maintenance, this house has a generator that was put in 2023, AC 2021, and the roof was replaced 2017. So say 8 years, you got another decade plus on that. So I'm going to give maintenance a 9. Established neighborhood, this part of Jungle Terrace, definitely give this a 9. I love it out there. So this is a 9 total. Now, I get it, $353 a square foot is still, I don't know. I just don't know if they're going to get to that. I mean, they're down 70 grand, but that was from last summer. I'm looking at this house at $330 a square foot because it has a pool. If you like sort of this cottagey kind of feel, that would be a price target for me at $448. Would you go see it at $448 if you were looking for a house like this? Let me know. Drop a comment. I'd love to know what you think about this one. And that is house number 2. Let's take a look at house number 3. All right, let's take a look at house number 3 now. This is a little bit pricier, 725 grand. It's also in the Jungle Terrace neighborhood. It's big though. So if you're looking for a big house, you need some real, space. This thing is 2,700 square feet. It's still only a 3.2 though. So this house, the entire second floor was added at some point. I'm loving this price already at $268 a square foot. The neighborhood. We'll just take a look, see it relative to the other houses. So the first house was about here, the second house was about here, and here we are. So again, relative to downtown, a few minutes to the beaches, 15 minutes to downtown, over the bridge to Tampa, to the airport, to a game, whatever you want to do. Let's take a quick look at the pricing action here. So this house went on the market last July. This was a real difficult time to put a house on the market at anything close to a sort of a premium price. But $279 per square foot last summer, I am surprised this house has never been under contract. I think just this number, the market is a little bit smaller for houses with the 7 in front of it. So they're only down 30 grand. And then they're at $268 a square foot right now. I think you'll see why. I think you'll see why this house maybe is struggling a little bit. Architecturally, you see the location. So the beaches are out here, obviously not very far. We've got this beautiful Walter Fuller Park, and then downtown is the other way. But if you look at this first picture, you see it doesn't have, it's not going to get a 10 on curb appeal, I'll tell you that. I would like to see some sort of overhang roof here. It maybe extend this porch or something. It would give it some visual interest. It almost looks like the back of the house from here. And I think that might be a problem it feels like maybe there should be a window here. This was probably a garage at some point. So again, if you're looking for a lot of space and maybe you have some money to do a few things to this house, I think adding a big front porch on here with like a little roof line, I know my drawing's not very good, would change the look of this house completely. Inside, beautiful, nice and clean. Big open living area, dining area. Oh, this was the other part. And this is sometimes an issue when somebody adds a second floor or a lot of extra square footage. Typically the size of a kitchen is relative to the rest of the house. This kitchen to me feels like, it's like a little horseshoe shaped kitchen. You probably could blow this wall out, and that looks like maybe it went outside at some point, and open this kitchen up a little bit. But it's hard to argue that this kitchen is the right size for a 2,700 square foot house. If somebody said my house is 2,700 square feet, I would expect their kitchen to be a little bit bigger than this. But again, that's a situation they probably didn't want to reconfigure everything when they added that second floor. It's still nice. It's still clean. This house looks, super clean and well maintained, even if not everything is new. Looks like newer appliances. This is up to, I guess, the second floor. There's the second floor loft. This primary suite is insane. And I think this is why, if you were thinking about something in this size range and you wanted I would say an oversized primary suite, I think there's a nice outside screen porch, and they got a little swim spa back there. Beautifully landscaped, very mature, really, really nice. So you can see the primary bedroom is like 19 by 25 here on the second floor. That is massive. And then you got 2 more bedrooms. So all the bedrooms are upstairs. So they did reconfigure the first floor when they added that second floor. Let's just go ahead and grade this one. It's a nice house. I still feel like it might be a little bit pricey. Now we do have a 2020 metal roof. The 2024, the kitchen was remodeled in 2024. I think, arguably they should have, blown out a wall and made it bigger, but that's the way it goes. Newer vinyl plank flooring. So quite a few upgrades, as you can see here. Oh, the roof was 2020. So let's just go ahead and grade this through. We've had 193 days on the market, 3 price drops. It's never been pending, which tells me we're still a little bit high. So we're going to give that an 8. The broad appeal is a 7. It's traditional 3-2, no garage, but the layout is a little non-traditional, maybe too much house for some. Exterior needs a little work. I need an overhang in the front because it looks like we're looking at the back of the house. So we're going to give broad appeal a 7. Maintenance, the roof is 2020, a kitchen remodel last year. We've got plenty of new stuff in here, so I'm going to give that an 8. The established neighborhood, I'm going to give it a 9. Jungle Terrace, I don't think you can go wrong there. There may be pockets there because it's relatively close to the water where it is a flood zone. This is not one of them. I just feel like the price target here should be, and I hate to say it because it seems so ridiculously low, but $240 a square foot, which would put it at $649.4. Is that still too high? I don't know. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Those are our deals of the week. Those are 3, I think, really good houses. This last house is kind of situational. If you need a lot of square footage and you can get into the under $250 a square foot range, this might be it. And you have a couple of bucks to fix up that front, which is something that I would do too. Might be a deal. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. My name is Steve Reynolds. I'm a realtor here in Pinellas County. I also do Hillsborough County. I do a little Manatee County. Now I'm doing Polk County for some new construction. So if you're thinking about buying or selling, send me an email, send me a text, give me a call. I'd love to help you out. And with that, I will see you next time.